Hey everybody, welcome back to Jeff Bowl Central doing a video game review for you. Journey to the Savage Planet.
Yeah, that kind of looks like the old, kind of like King Kong
Kinda, yeah.
vibe.
So you see that tower there that I just was looking up at? That is the goal of the game, to get to the top of this massive...
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, what do you think the goal is? We keep climbing higher and higher and higher and higher. What do you think the goal is?
Well, apparently it was to collect resources, poke animals, and die a bunch of times.
Yeah, well, that's part of it, but it's also kind of like inspired by Metroid and Grow Home. Do you remember Grow Home, where you were like a
Oh,
little
okay,
robot
that makes a
ready to
lot
go
more
higher?
sense. See,
That's
I didn't
kinda-
even think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I didn't like that game.
And Far Cry, and there's a healthy dose of Far Cry in here because it's made with the Cry
Which I do
engine.
like that game.
Yeah, but that's kind of like okay. So the game is really, really colorful, really, really funny. For instance,
Yes.
there's every time you return to your ship, which you have to do a lot. Plus, you're going to die a lot, so you're going to be there a lot. They have all these funny advertisements for all these fake products. It's hilarious. Like there's a good sense of humor. There's a great sense of creativity, great sense of color.
Well, and you have like a person, a narrator, in your head. No different than, I think, like Cortana.
Kind of, yeah.
And she always perks up, and she says some hilarious things.
Right,
Some
yeah.
funny things.
It's got a good vibe. But I think for me there are two issues with the game that hold it back from being like a total recommend. Number one, it it uses the Far Cry engine, which is optimized for shooting, and you do shoot in the game, but you have this little pea shooter pistol thing that you can upgrade, but none of the upgrades are all that compelling. They're kind of boring upgrades. And so, as much as you're required to shoot, it's frustrating because it's like it wants to be a shooter, but it doesn't want to be a shooter.
And I'm not very good with it, and
that's because it's a sucky little
so,
pistol. You can't hit anything.
So I kept dying on that one.
Yeah.
But
And so it's like it wants to be a shooter, but it's not a shooter.
do you
It
know?
wants to be an explorer, but it's also a shooter.
Yeah. Do you know what my opinion is though on this game? Like, I think it's a fun game. It is funny, has a sense of humor, and it's colorful. That it all has.
Right.
But it's a kind of person who likes those long games, those hours of just doing things,
Wandering and exploring.
exploring, backtracking and just wandering off and finding a new place.
Yeah, and that's kind of at its heart what it really is.
Right.
And what it really
So if
wants
you
to
like
be.
those games, they should get this one. If they like those kind of games, get this one. That's perfect for it.
Yeah.
But if you're like, probably like me and Jeff, where we like our action. We like Witcher and
Far Cry.
Skyrim and Far Cry. That's our longest games that we really like to play.
Right.
You know.
I mean, I will say, though, that the world really draws you in. It's an intriguing
does.
world. There's all sorts of cool flora and fauna. You're supposed to scan everything you see. It's an exploration game.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's an exploration game with shooting elements. But the thing is the higher you get up the damn tower, the more enemies you've got to fight. So the more shooting you've got to do. And I'm like, well, give me 2 guns.
Instead of
Give me an
having
assault
a
rifle. Give me a shotgun. Give me something.
can of food or
Yeah, and a pistol.
a
that
blob that I still don't know what it does.
Yeah, see this thing in his hand? It's a can of food, and you use it for bait. And one of the elements of discovery that is kind of fun is the fact that you're discovering how to do anything.
Right.
They don't really tell you.
No.
You have to discover what this is for or that is for, and you do that by scanning everything.
Mm-hmm.
Every little thing has something to scan.
Yeah.
Or like this guy here. This is kind of like a guard thing.
Oh.
And we couldn't figure out how to take it down. And then we realized you get behind it and then you poke it in the eye. Like that's not something that it told us how to do.
Yeah.
And see, here's one of the really, really funny commercials. These are all great, but the thing is it's also kind of a matter of longevity because the longer you play it, the more I wouldn't say frustrating, but kind of frustrating it is. It's like
Well,
it
I think
gets-
it's frustrating for us because, again, it's not our type of game. It's fun and all, but we only take so much in so many doses before we're like, ugh, it's so repetitive. Because we were that way with Destiny and stuff like that, too.
Well, Destiny is repetitive. I mean, like the base
but some
games.
people like that repetitiveness. Some people
true.
just do. We don't.
And
we
some
don't.
people, like you say, some people are more into like
the
exploration than
searching
shooting.
and exploring. Now, I was trying to think too. Is like, would this game be good for Wii ones? Because we've done that too, where there's great games for kids,
I think
not so much for adults.
I think it's actually more challenging because I mean, like, look at these tiny little targets on the top of this thing's head, and I've got this tiny
That's
little
true.
pistol.
That's true. That would frustrate.
That would
like,
frustrate a kid. It's like
any kid.
I can't believe I can even hit those.
I mean, I found no, because I'm one of those. I'll just wander and just say,
Yeah,
if I die, I die.
right. I think it kind of outwears it. It out. What am I trying to say? Outlives its welcome. That's not a thing. That's not a thing people say.
Wear out your welcome. That's what people say.
Is that what people say?
Yeah, but that's for like guests and stuff. Like, don't stay.
This was a
and wear
guest
out
in
your
my
welcome.
home, and it wore out its welcome. But it took a long time. I mean, we're criticizing it, but the truth is that it actually is. It is enjoyable. And
It's fun.
And
It is fun.
And again, if you're a cheap person, like we tend to be, it's cheap. And it's a good co-op time, but not
It
single
is.
couch. Like it would be
Yeah.
great if it was single couch. It isn't. But as a co-op game, I take it that it's much more enjoyable. Okay, quick! I give it a 7 out of 10. Hurry!
I'll get a 7 out of 10. I don't know.
Oh, now we get to talk about my product.
Book.
This is a book about the apocalypse, but it's kind of like. Can you take over?
It's about giant gods and devastation and peril and what will happen to these certain characters. Who will know? Who will find out?
That was way better than I was prepared to do. That was way more energy than I don't.
I had time to think
You
about
had
it.
to work on that. I could tell.
Subscribe now! I had to do that too.